Roosevelt. Now, I'll try not to be biased here, even though I've got to admit I absolutely love President Roosevelt. He's one of my personal heroes in history because he's the only president to have been elected 4 times in a row. That can't happen anymore, it's only twice in a row now, but he was elected 4 times in a row. And when you listen to this podcast, you will completely understand why. So in comparison to President Hoover, I'm sure absolutely anybody going up against him would have looked pretty good. But Roosevelt was somebody who realised that he'd had a really privileged upbringing, and you need to mention about his background in an answer here so that people understand that you recognise why he had his views. So everything had been going swimmingly well for him. He was given all the opportunities that you could possibly want. He had private tutors, and at 14 he went to Groton, which was a public school, the best public school actually in America. He then went on to Harvard, again the best university in America, and his family was extremely rich, so he wanted for absolutely nothing. So what he realised is that he had all the opportunities, but when he was 40 years old, unfortunately, he suffered from polio. And it attacked him really suddenly, and he actually spent 2 years in bed trying to move his big toe. And when he was desperate, people were there to help him. He needed help and people stepped up and they gave him help, which was something that he actually remembered when he became governor of New York State. So when he was governor of New York State in the late 1920s and very early 1930s, he used the tax money that they got in to help the homeless, the hungry and the unemployed. He wanted to help the forgotten man. And he was the only person who actually did that by using the tax money to immediately help them. Now, when he ran for president in the election in 1932, he played on that idea of helping the forgotten man. But where most politicians just promise that and nothing ever happens, he absolutely stuck to his word. So he'd shown that it wasn't just an empty promise, he'd already done it as governor of New York State. And then what he's promised to do as well is he promised to actually, directly use taxes to help the people who were starving, and that's exactly what he then did. So remember, Roosevelt is action man. He promised action and action now. And his little slogan was, "A New Deal for the American people." And that tied in with another slogan of his, "Happy days are here again." And people wanted to hear that word happy. They had been so down and depressed for so long, they wanted somebody to promise that they would take action to help them. And because he was a Democrat president, the Democrats always believe in helping the normal, everyday people. Well, during the American Depression, all those people that I've talked about in class and in previous podcasts, they would be desperate for Roosevelt to help them. And that's exactly what he was planning on doing. So because of all the things that he promised, people went to the polls in November 1932 and he got a huge landslide victory. It was the biggest landslide victory for over 90 years. People wanted a Democrat president that was actually going to do something. And it was miraculous how he got in, because obviously he'd been in a wheelchair since he had the polio. And because they respected him so much, not even Republican reporters or Republican biased, reporters and photographers ever showed him in motion. He was always shown either behind a desk or sitting in an open top car, because certainly he was more than good enough to be President of the United States. And the fact he got voted in 4 times absolutely proves it. So Roosevelt, without a doubt, had an awful lot to offer the American people.